A trembling moved accountant of her riches, she reckoned the insufficient days between. A dire expectancy knocked at her breast. Dreadful to her were the footsteps of the hours. Grief came, a passionate stranger, to her gate, banished when in his arms out of her sleep. It rose at morn to look at her face.
To look into her face.
Look. It rose at morn to look into her face. Vainly she fled into abysms of bliss.
I think it's abysms.
Abysms.
No, not abysms, but abysms.
Abysms.
The accent being on the B. Abysm.
Abysms.
Yeah.
Abysms. Vainly she fled into abysms of bliss.
Yes.
From her pursuing foresight of the end.
Yes.
The more she plunged into love, that anguish grew. Her deepest grief from sweetest gulfs arose.
Yeah, I've had this experience with Mary Helen. As her cancer progressed, that anguish, the more that we have felt a deeper love for each other, the more the anguish grew also within the soul, because the deepest grief arose from the sweetest gulfs, just like he says. So now we'll continue on.
Remembrance was a poignant pang.
No, poignant.
Poignant.
Poignant, like a Y in there. Poignant.
Poignant.
Yes, a poignant pang, yes.
Remembrance was a poignant pang. She felt each day a golden leaf torn cruelly out from her too slender book of love and joy.
And why is it a too slender book? Because she was only given 1 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So poignant is piercing, often distressing to the feelings.
Okay. Poignant actually means piercing.
Yes, piercing, incisive, distressing, painful to the feelings.
Okay.
When he spoke, we felt something poignant in his voice. Like that, you could say.
Understand.
Good.
Poignant.
Poignant, yes. Nyant. Everything that I've met in the ashram says poignant, poignant, or something. The G is never sounded in poignant.
Okay.
So this is all pretty much self-explanatory, isn't it? What Sri Aurobindo is telling us here, very simply, very beautifully, that the time is coming and she feels it. The footsteps of the hours creeping up on her.
Yeah.
And grief now comes because there was no grief before.
Yeah.
Before that time, she had 1 year with him, and that year was so beautiful. It was, and we've gone through all of that. But now she's reckoning these insufficient days that are coming, that are left. And she's expecting this death to come, and grief is a stranger to her. She hasn't known it before, but now it has come to her. He calls it grief, a passionate stranger that has come to her gate. It's gone when she's in his arms, but when she wakes up in the morning, it's there again. It has to be there. You have to face it every morning. You can go to sleep and try to forget it for a while, but it's going on subconsciously.
Yeah.
So she's fleeing into these abysms, these gulfs of bliss, because she does that. She plunges into love because that's her only way, but yet her deepest grief arises from those sweetest gulfs. So you can say that, one is so happy and so grateful with a partner, but that knowledge that he's going to die or she's going to die is a poignant pang, remembrance. And so each day, this golden leaf, the golden leaf is their marriage.
Yeah.
Their time together.
Yeah.
It's torn cruelly out, like you tear something out, tear a page out of a book.
Yeah.
From a too slender book of love and joy. And we'll carry on.
Thus swaying in strong gusts of happiness and swimming in forebodings,
somber
ways, and feeding sorrow and terror with her heart. For now they sat among her bosom's guests, or in her inner chamber paced apart. Her eyes stared blind into the future's night.
Well, we have first of all the word of foreboding. That's almost indicating beforehand, foretelling, predicting something. See, so she is swaying in these strong gusts of happiness. She's swimming in these foreboding, somber sort of dim and dark and somber waves. And she's feeding sorrow and terror with her heart. And now he has a long dash there.
Yeah.
And then 2 lines later, he has another dash. So he's telling us, because he's telling us that this sorrow and this terror is sitting as guests in her heart, in her chest, or they're pacing in her heart's chamber or the soul's chamber. They're pacing apart, and therefore her eyes are staring blind into the future's night, because she doesn't know yet what's going to happen. All she knows is that he's going to die. And we're going to find later on as we go through it that she's not aware that she is an incarnation of the Divine Mother yet. She even says, I'll die with him. Commit sati or whatever. Because in those days, there was nothing for a young person, teens or something, other than entering a convent or committing sati.
Yeah.
So that's where she is. And now we'll carry on.
Out of her separate self, she looked and saw, moving amid the unconscious faces loved. In mind, a stranger. I'm not getting the connection, Narad. I'll read again. Out of her separate self, she looked and saw, moving amid the conscious faces loved.
Okay, it's the unconscious faces.
Ah.
So
Moving.
here's what's happening. She is looking out of her separate self. This is the witness self, the witness
Okay.
soul. She's
Okay.
looking out of her witness soul, and she's seeing that these conscious faces that she loves so much, they're in her mind, they're a stranger, but they're very near to her heart.
Ah.
She sees this whole smiling world go happily by,
Hmm.
uh, upon its way towards a doom. Well, that doom is death, of course. And she
Hmm.
wonders at the careless lives of men. So we have to take that all as one sentence from
Okay.
from out of her separate self to
Until
men
careless lives in
is
me.
one
Okay.
sentence, and then you'll get it better.
Okay.
So start with
Out
out of her separate self.
out of her separate self she looked and saw, moving amid the unconscious faces loved, in mind a stranger, though in heart so near, the ignorant smiling world go happily by, upon its way towards an unknown doom, and wondered at the careless lives of men.
Ah, yes. So we see that the world doesn't know,
Yeah,
most of humanity doesn't know where it's going.
correct.
And so she calls it an unknown doom
Hmm.
because we lead careless lives generally.
Hmm. Hmm.
We do things we shouldn't do. We think things we shouldn't think. We
Hmm.
go places that we shouldn't go. We
Yeah.
meet people we shouldn't meet. It goes on
Yeah.
and on. It's the
Yeah.
careless lives of men.
Hmm.
And then Sri Aurobindo is going to continue and tell us even more. So you can carry on. He's going to tell us about these careless lives of men. Men is humanity, huh?
Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
As if in different worlds they walked, though close, they confident of the returning sun.
Yeah, here you
They
have to break a little bit. They confident of the returning sun.
got it.
They wrapped. Okay.
They confident of the returning sun. They wrapped in little hourly hopes and tasks. She, in her dreadful knowledge, was alone.
Well, because
Only she had that knowledge.
yeah, and humanity doesn't have foresight. They can't
Mm.
tell the future.
Yeah,
So they are wrapped in their little hourly hopes and
yeah,
tasks.
yeah,
And therefore she is alone in her dreadful knowledge.
yeah,
So we can go on a little bit more because this is so beautiful and so poignant.
yeah. The rich and happy secrecy that once enshrined her as if in a silver bower,
Bower.
bower, as if in a silver bower, apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams, made room for tragic hours of solitude and lonely grief that none could share or know. A body seeing the end too soon of joy and the fragile happiness of its mortal love.
Well, this is very interesting. See, this happy secrecy, rich secrecy,
Hmm.
to enshrine someone or something is to enclose it as if in a shrine.
Hmm. Yeah.
And now a bower is a an arbor. It's also
Okay.
very poetic. It's so like a shady, leafy place, an arbor that's away from things.
Okay.
Because he says in apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams.
Okay.
So the rich and happy secrecy that once enshrined her, as if in a silver bower, silver is so beautiful there, the word silver, apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams. So it was like that once before the date is coming close. Now, because it's coming close, it has made room for tragic hours of solitude and lonely grief that nobody could share or know. A body seeing the end too soon of joy and the fragile happiness of its mortal love. Fragile happiness of mortal love, you see. There is a fragile happiness, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because we know whether it's 20, 30, 40 years we're together, it's going to end.
Yeah.
One is going to die. There are great poets who have written, oh, if only it could be me who would go first. One has to go first.
Yeah.
So this is the sense here, this fragile happiness of mortal love. Now, we'll go on just a little more because this is very important here. Because read those lines and we'll go over them.
Okay. Her quiet visage, is it?
No, visage.
Visage. Her quiet visage, still and sweet and calm, her graceful daily acts were now a mask. In vain she looked upon her depths to find a ground of stillness and the spirit's peace. Still veiled.
No, let's take those 4 lines first.
Yeah.
A visage is an appearance.
Okay.
I came upon a fellow who had a strange visage. It's usually the face. It usually means the face.
Okay.
So her quiet visage is still, it's sweet and it's calm. But her graceful daily acts were now a mask. She's hiding it. She's hiding it. She's hiding the pain. She's hiding everything. In vain, she looked upon her depths to find a ground of stillness and the spirit's peace. So she doesn't know yet. She, as I said, she doesn't know who she is yet exactly. She's this wonderful, beautiful princess who is calm, who is graceful, who is sweet, who is rather quiet. And she goes through her daily acts, that is, helping the mother, cooking, fire, etc. Everything is now a mask. And she's starting to look inside of herself to find that ground of stillness and the peace of the spirit. Okay.
And she's looking in vain, like she's not finding it. Is she?
Not finding it. Not yet.
Yeah. Still veiled from her was the silent being within who sees life's drama pass with unmoved eyes, supports the sorrow of the mind and heart, and bears in human breasts the world and fate. A glimpse or flashes came, the presence was hid.
So we see what she's going through, huh?
Yeah.
She is trying to find that silent being within, but it's still veiled from her. It's hidden by a veil. And that's only that silent being, that being who is who is the soul, and it's able to see the dramas of life pass with eyes that are unmoved. It also supports the sorrow of the mind and heart. And that's very beautiful, you see, because because the soul supports the sorrow of our mind and heart, and it bears in our human breasts the world and
Hmm.
fate. So as she's going through all of this, she gets a glimpse or a flash,
Hmm.
but the presence was still hid.
Hmm.
Now, we have a couple of things. Have we done being?
No,
I don't think so. We have to
no,
do
have
being.
not done the. Yeah.
But we've done presence.
No.
Okay. So we have two big ones to go, and let's do those, and we'll end there today.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
Being.
we have done being.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. And what about presence? Should be soon after power. I don't know.
Yeah, I see power, but I pregnant preparation presence. Yes, I found it. For me, it's on 237.
Oh, that's, yeah, because you have the book, right?
Yeah.
And the book is different from the PDF.
Okay.
Ah, that's why, yeah.
Yeah, I think that happens in all the books. Even I read my book reads synthesis. My friend reads synthesis in the book, and I read
Yep.
it in the
Yep.
PDF. It's like 20 pages or something different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we won't have time to read presence. It's so long. We'll keep that for.
So we can keep that for the next day.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to
shall
read
we?
being?
Being I've already read. So
Okay.
I mean we have already read, so I'll read it on my own. What
And
we
then you
can
want
do is
to go
I
from the
can read
beginning?
what yeah, go from the beginning. So
Well, actually, we could go from a little bit before the beginning. Uh,
we can go from vainly she fled into abyss of bliss from where we started today. Or even before you see.
yeah, I think we could start with a trembling, moved accountant of her riches,
Okay. Yeah, we can start there. Okay.
which takes us into the whole thing.
Understood. Yeah.
Good.
A trembling, moved accountant of her riches, she reckoned the insufficient days between. A dire expectancy knocked at her breast. Dreadful to her were the footsteps of the hours. Grief, grief came, a passionate stranger to her gate, banished when in his arms, out of her sleep. It rose at morn to look into her face. Vainly she fled into abysms of bliss, from her pursuing foresight of the end. The more she plunged into love, the more she plunged into love, that anguish grew. Her deepest grief from sweetest gulfs arose. Remembrance was a poignant pang. She felt each day a golden leaf torn cruelly out from her too slender book of love and joy. Thus swaying in strong gusts of happiness, and swimming in forebodings, sombre waves, and feeding sorrow and terror with her heart. For now they sat among her bosom's guest, or in her inner chamber paced apart. Her eyes stared blind into the future's night. Out of a separate self she looked and saw, moving amid the unconscious faces loved, in mind a stranger, though in heart so near. The ignorant smiling world go happily by, upon its way towards an unknown doom, and wondered at the careless lives of men. As if in different worlds they walked, though close, they confident of the returning sun, they wrapped in little hourly hopes and tasks. She, in her dreadful knowledge, was alone. The rich and happy secrecy that once enshrined her as if in a silver bower, apart in a bright nest of thoughts and dreams, made room for tragic hours of solitude and lonely grief that none could share or know. A body seeing the end too soon of joy and the fragile happiness of its mortal love. A quiet visage, still and sweet and calm. Her graceful daily acts were now a mask. In vain she looked upon her depths to find a ground of stillness and the spirit's peace. Still veiled from her was the silent being within, who sees life's drama pass with unmoved eyes, supports the sorrow of the mind and heart, and bears in human breasts the world and fate. A glimpse or flashes came, the presence was hid.
Good. Only two things. Visage.
Visage. When after I read it, I was like, I missed it.
Good.
Visage.
And then amid. You said
Amid.
amid. Amid. It's amid.
Amid.
Yeah.
Amid. Okay.
Amid, not amid. Amid.
Similar to another word which you corrected me today in abysses.
Abysses, yes.
Yeah. So
Abysses and
abysses.
amid. Yes.
Yeah. So I
It's
think
kind of a
we.
UH. It's almost a UH sound.
Okay.
Amid, abyss.
Amid. Amid. Okay, got it. Amid abyss.
Wonderful.
Abyss.
Well, it was a long passage, but I think when
Yeah.
we do that, it comes
All together, it falls in
come
place.
all yeah it becomes even more powerful to us, doesn't it? And we
Yeah.
begin to understand it more.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
And next time I want to go over the same passage you just read. We'll begin with that, and you explain it to me.
Okay. We'll do that.
This I'm sure
And
you
we also have to read presence.
presence. Yes, we have to read presence. Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
good.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste, Narad. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm happy we did this in such a long passage. It was beautiful.
Yeah. So it was a good one. Thank you.